So we're back again this week, folks, and we're on with another nymph again. As the trout season starts to come to the back end and we start tying flies ready for grayling season, we need some heavy nymphs for Euro nymphing applications. In smaller sizes, this is great for duo as well. And we just need those patterns that are focused on a small size that can get down quick, and this is perfect for that. So I'm going to start with a fully milled jig 4 short with a 45-degree eye. It's a lovely hook, nice strong wire gauge on it. It's perfect for this fly. And on there I've just got a 3.5mm slotted tungsten copper bead. So we're going to start off by just adding the thread. The thread is a Semperfly Nano-silk in yellow. I do like this yellow colour. It's superb for this fly, and the thread colour is important. It will show through the body. But you can choose one you like. There's all different colours, all different styles of thread. It doesn't necessarily have to be a thread similar to Nano-silk. That's just what I like to use. So I'm going to come back to let the thread hang roughly where the barb would be. You can see there on the hook where the barb would be. That's where it's going to hang. And for the tail, we're going to come in with some Coq De Leon. We don't want a huge amount of fibres here, because more material is more bulk, and the more bulk we add to the fly, the slower the sink rate. So we're going to come in. I like to use about 6 or 7 fibres, and I'm going to measure that by putting it against the fly, putting my fingers up to the bead, and I want the tail to come back roughly to where the thread goes down. And from there I'm just going to swap it in my hands and tie that in, making sure that those fibres stay on top of the fly so it stays nice and neat. I'm going to tie those down like so. Come in with the scissors and take the excess off. From here now, making sure that the thread's laying flat and not twisting, I'm just focusing on building a body up. I want a nice tapered body that gets thicker towards the bead. Doesn't have to be excessive. I don't want it to be a huge bulky body, but I want some profile. It's not bulk, it's profile that we're adding here. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to go back up, and that's about the level I want. So I'm going to stop about half a bead's width from the bead. And from here, I'm going to use some Flexi floss. It's a great material, super durable, has great stretch to it, no bulk to it, and it's going to add a really nice effect to the nymph. The one I'm using is a light olive by Vineyards. So I'm going to grab that and I'm going to tie it on the side of the hook. I'm going to catch it in first for just 2 turns, and then pull it out. It's just important to take your time here. And then I'm going to tie that in like so. And the important thing is that I stretch this. If I don't stretch it as I tie it in, it'll add lumps and bumps and bulk. So I'm putting, as you can see, a good amount of tension here. I'm not coming right back down to the tail. I'm leaving a slight gap for that first wrap. And then I'm coming back up with the thread, right up to the back of the bead. And I'm just stretching this Flexi floss now, and leaving a slight gap in between the wraps to create a nice segmented body. Now as I go up towards the bead, I'm just lowering the tension a bit, which will help to create slightly bigger segments, and it'll also help to just expand the Flexi floss a bit wider, and just add to that taper going up towards the bead. I'm going to make sure that's secured in. Remember, it's elastic, so we need a good securing in. You don't want to tie it in tight, let go, and it pings off later on in the tile when you're fishing with it. So I'm going to come in, snip off the excess there until I'm left with this. From here you can use a range really of different dubbings that you want to use. It's really up to you. I like a nice fur buggy dubbing. I don't want the collar to be long, I don't want it to come far back. I want a nice tight collar that just adds to the effect. So I'm going to use this Kindale Hare and Squirrel rainbow blend, which is absolutely fantastic. Lots of guard hairs in it, not a lot of bulk, which is just what I'm after here. I'm going to add this on via a noodle, not a dubbing loop. because I want that nice taut short collar, which I'll demonstrate in a second. I'm putting a generous amount on. I'm just going to start making sure I'm butting that thread up against the bead. I don't want it to come back over here like this. I don't want to come down here. I want it nice and butted up against that bead. And I'm coming in relatively loose there. Picking out any really long excess fibres. I'm turning it, making sure I'm happy. Not happy there. I want it tighter against that bead. Like so. Now I'm happy. Probably looks exactly the same on camera, but you fly tyers know what it means. Sometimes you just get that feeling by eye. I'm doing 3 wraps there and cinching off, and I'll do another 3. I often do this. You can use a varnish instead, but sometimes just 2 finishes is enough. It'll hold. I've never had one come undone. And from there, really, you've got this lovely buggy nymph that you could go out and use, no problem at all. If you want that more natural effect. However, I like to come in now with some Glo-Brite, which is Glo-Brite number 4. And just come in right at the head. Now, it's important that this first thread wrap, I'm going to do barely any, has to come over this tag end. If it goes in front, I'll pull it straight off. So it has to overlap that first one. I'm going to go overlapping, and I'm going to go 1, and I'm going to go 2. Because I've overlapped, that will hold. I'm going to come in with the scissors and snip that tag end nice and clean. Put a third one just to cover that tag end up. And this is where now I'll come in with a very light touch of varnish. This one's going a bit stringy because it's old. We're just going to dab the varnish there. That's way too much of a big blob, so we'll just come in with our fingers. Make sure that that comes off. We're just wetting the thread with the varnish, really. We don't want to add unnecessary gunk. From here, as you can see there, just get that piece off. And we're just making sure the thread lays flat. And I'm just coming in nice and tight. Just 3 wraps. Then coming in, pulling that tight and snipping. And that's just my finished nymph. It's a bit of colour. The profile's absolutely lovely. Just what you want. A nice tight tapered body. It's got that bit of colour, the bit of movement, the perfect profile. Go out there, give that one a fish focus. I can guarantee you that will catch trout, grayling and anything else you throw at it.